So I'm continuing with my methodology for shrink wrapping a painting, mostly because some friends and myself are sending some paintings to France, and that is the most economical way to send them, and there's no framing available there, and a number of their artists are going to do the same thing to exhibit their work. So we end up with a piece of work that is covered in plastic, and I'll turn that so you can see the reflection on it. So the work is covered in plastic. It's not the same as glass, but it does give the deeper colors a lot of depth when you put on a shiny surface on top of it. So it does have that advantage of being what would normally be a framed piece of work, and it creates that effect that gives the color some depth. So when it's flat like this, it's very brilliant, but it doesn't have that same depth that you get from framing. It's like putting a varnish on an oil painting. If you put varnish on, you get depth. The light reacts differently on the surface and creates depth. It's like wetting a stone in a river. You take a stone, if it's dry, make it wet, and you get all the depth of the colors that are in the stone. So these pieces that I've prepared, the way I did it in a similar short video, by using alien tape behind and packing tape on the back of the painting, so that the alien tape doesn't get actually stuck to the painting. It gets stuck to the packing tape, which was put in a number of positions: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 positions around, with about a 1-inch square of alien tape in each position, just to make sure it's gonna hang there without falling down, without any problem. And the idea being that it looks as if it's framed to a certain extent. And this is a full sheet of watercolor. It will look that it's framed to a certain extent because I've made it 1/2 inch bigger board all the way around. So it's 23.5 by 31. And then you can place the painting on it with the alien tape, and it makes it look like you're floating the painting. Floating being, in some cases, watercolor artists do what's called floating their work on a background, so that the matte, there's not a normal matte around the painting that you would see on most of them, but just floated work. And from that, you get the full appearance of the paper. It has this lovely sort of, it's not what you call a deckled edge, I don't think, but it's a handmade paper, acid-free handmade paper. It's been made for hundreds of years with certain methodology, and it gives you a sort of nice raggedy edge that finishes off, gives it some texture instead of being cut like a knife. So there are some advantages to doing it this way, and it will look nice when it goes into the exhibition, I'm sure. Now, if I framed it this way across the material I've got, and perhaps right now I should explain the material that I've got. I picked up in the last couple of days this shrink wrap paper, but it's much wider than the other stuff that I've got. And it says 25 feet by about 65 inches. Well, the 65, this isn't 65 inches, it's 30 plus inches. But what makes it 65 is there's 2 sheets. It's a folded sheet that you can open up. On this side is the fold. So I can open it up on one side, then this side has got a fold on it. I don't know whether you can see that, but it's not open. So what I can do is slide my artwork into this like it's a sleeve, and then trim off what I don't need, and then use this machine for sealing the edges of the plastic before it gets shrunk with a hairdryer. So I'm going to slide that piece of work I had into this sleeve. Better make sure that you've done everything you want before you slide it in, because now this is sort of the final process. So this way now, I've got lots of room. I'm not so close to the edges of the work that I don't have any room to work with the sealing machine. So when I do this, like this, it's now inside the sleeve. Like if I pick up this sleeve now, you'll see the work is now inside the sleeve. So I've got excess shrink wrap on this end that I can work with, and I want some excess at the other end. So I'm being somewhat careful now to place this, that I will have some excess here, and I'm going to pull it just a little bit this way to make sure I've got some excess at the other end. And then I'm going to cut it. So it's a little bit tricky. You've got to have long arms right here, I guess. But I'm going to cut right across there, like that, with a pretty sharp knife. So now, the sleeve that I have around the painting is now detached from the roll. So there's the roll. It's now detached from the roll, and I can now place my work in a certain position that will give me a few inches at each end to seal it and have room for the machine to work in. So there we go. That's too far one way. Now I'll slide it a little bit this way, and I'll hold both sides of the sleeve while I feed the work as far up against that edge as possible. Now, this sealing machine has certain temperatures to it, and I've turned it up, and I actually, to tell you the truth, I'm never quite sure how high to turn this thing, but I do want it to seal the plastic and have me be able to just pull away the excess plastic. And you're going to see me do that now. So it's hard to describe these things. It's much easier to do this than to just keep trying to describe it. You'll see what I mean. So this is in the sleeve, and I'm going to put it into the sealing machine like that. And I'm going to lower this lever, which pushes the hot part down onto this shrink wrap material. I'm trying to keep it as even as possible. So now I push down, hold it down, lift it up, and it should, here it is now, I can peel this off. So it's not completely finished, but I can peel that off. I'm just hoping that I have sealed that together just right, which I haven't yet, but it's close enough. And I'll go back and do some more in a little bit. So I have the top where the fold is. I've got that end somewhat sealed already. And now I'm switching to the other end of the work, which I'm going to put into the sealing machine again, and I'm going to have it reasonably tight, not overly tight, because the hairdryer will shrink the plastic and make it tight. So I just need a bit of room to work in that favor, and I'm sort of securing it now so that it will do that. So that looks pretty good where I'm at now, and I'm just going to lower that blade again just like I did before, and take off the excess. Now this time I'm going to slide this a bit forward now because it's easier to handle, because I know I'm not going to fall all out of place anymore with what I'm doing. So it's fiddly, it's a little bit fiddly. I'm doing this a little bit fiddly here. And I'm going to trim off the last bits of this excess here. There we go. So that goes in the garbage. This excess, this bits of the folded stuff, and it goes into the garbage. And now I've more or less, this is more or less now a bag, a plastic bag, except I need to seal the other end a little bit better now, because I've got the other end done. It's going to be easier to do that, so I can hold this up like this, and it's inside a sealed bag really, because there's just a little bit more to seal on this end. And I'm going to put it into the machine so that it'll catch that one piece. And I'm walking as squarely as I can. I'm trying to judge and get it as squarely as I can in here. Okay, I think I'm going to push this down a bit further. You have to be thinking all the time here to get this all done properly, just like I did on the other end. And I think, yes, well, that is about right now. So here I go. I'm going to press down, and it's sealed off and cut the plastic. It's not a knife cut, it's heat that is melting the plastic and dividing it up. So now I really do have this in a three-sided bag, and I've got one side now that is extra, so that has to come off. But you can see that the sides where I've got it is pretty close to the edges. That's why I was being so careful. The sides are now pretty close to the edges because it's going to shrink, but I don't have 2 inches that I have to shrink. I've got a little bit on each side. And now I'm going to do that last side. And of course the machine is not big enough really for something this big, so I have to do it in a couple of actions. So now there we go, and that came off very nicely. And now I'm going to slide it in, or turn it. I can turn it over the other way actually to fit that in more squarely, and line it up so that the side is as even as I can get it before I start shrinking it, just so I don't get any weird folds in the shrinking process. I seal it again, lift it up. Here's the excess stuff that came off the end, and that is, you know, basically garbage now, can't be used for anything else. But now I have my piece of artwork sealed up in a bag. It's completely closed now, and this plastic, you can probably see when I run my hand across it, you can see all the little waves there. So it's not tight, but it's going to be tight when I seal it down. So I don't want these edges to appear on the front. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to seal on the back first, so that the edge marks are pulled this way on these edges, so that you probably won't be able to see them on the front. It's just a matter of getting it look as best as you possibly can. So you'd rather have those sealy edges on the back rather than on the front. Then my trusty hairdryer. I don't have much hair, so it gets a lot more use on something like this. So here we go. Turn it on high, and I think you can see that it's blowing the plastic, but at the same time the heat is shrinking the plastic. So if I could speed this process up, I would, so that you wouldn't have to watch me doing this for ages. But actually, if you go too fast, you could burn a hole in the plastic, or you could make a hole in the plastic. So you're better off to be patient and careful. And if you work from the center out, you'll probably get it more evenly done. And this shrink wrap is usually used for sealing windows when you're in a cold climate. So if you want over the winter to have things not so drafty, you can seal this around the window. And cut out most of the grass. Now I'm wondering if I have this on the highest heat, because it's not shrinking as fast as I think it should. So I do have a heat gun, but I'm pretty careful about using a heat gun, because you really can then burn a hole in it, and if you don't know what you're doing. So I'm going to try and continue to do this with this hairdryer rather than going and getting a heat gun. Okay, I think I was moving too quickly. Like, I don't have a temperature gauge on this hairdryer, but I think I was moving a bit too quickly over the surface to get it to shrink. And now I'm seeing, as I do this, distinct lines that show me that it is working. And I'm trying to get it even as I go. So that I don't have one area that's not shrunk at all and another area that's totally shrunk. I'm trying to take it down evenly so that I get a nice even finish at the end of this process. Now I know it's hard to see on video, but I think you can see that this is getting tighter. Yeah, maybe you get a different angle on it. If I hold it up a bit like that, you can see that it is getting tighter as I do it. And the closer I hold this to the plastic, the more it shrinks it. And so far, I haven't made a mistake and put a hole in it with the heat. It reminds me a bit of shrinking a silk screen frame or tightening up a silk screen frame. So I'm doing the middles first and then I'm starting to go out towards the edges from the middle. And now we really are getting some results. And now I'm going to show you what has happened with this edge. So on this edge right here, I don't know whether you can see this line on here. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. I left the lights off. Maybe if I turn the lights on, that might help you see that ridge. And it's a ridge that's created when you trim on this machine. And I'm trying to make sure that it falls on this side, and here it is here. And this is why we do the back first, because then that join mark comes on the back of the painting rather than coming down the front of the painting and spoiling the composition. So now, I think when we turn it over, you'll see that it's a lot tighter on the other side. It's not completely shrunk down, but it's not waving around as much as it did before. And so when I tighten up this side with the hairdryer, this will look smooth and glassy like, and make the piece look very good. And I won't keep you for all that time. Or maybe I will for now, but if you're bored stiff and you've had enough of watching this dryer work, then you could turn off the video. But maybe I'll keep it right to the end here, even though it takes a little while. It'll be a lot faster on the other side because a lot of it has already been shrunk out of this film by pulling it onto this side. Now this side is getting quite smooth. I'll just lift that up for you. You can see it's getting quite smooth. Even though there's some shrinking still to be done, it's getting quite smooth. But now that I'm assured that none of the join marks are on the other side, and I've shrunk this enough that I'm pretty sure when I shrink the other side, it won't pull the join marks around the front of the board, which will then leave the image clear to be exhibited. So I'll just do a little bit more and then I'll turn it over. Now, as you can see, that is now pretty tight all over. There's still a little bit of wrinkle in it, but I won't worry about that for now, because I can go back later and do those last little bits. Now I'm going to do this side and hope that we don't get any strange ripples. We shouldn't do. Now, since the back is tight, this will probably tighten up a lot faster. Which I can see is happening already. And maybe you can too. It's happening much faster on this side now. And actually, with all the coloring there now, it gets hard to see exactly all. I can see where the ripples are. If I hold it up to the light, I can see exactly where the ripples are. And that's just about it now. So let's say it is, so that you do actually get to see. Look at that. It's like a piece of glass on it. And it's shrink wrapped, sealed. Nobody can come up to it in an exhibition and splash their coffee onto it or anything like that, because it's behind this sealed plastic and there's no ripples there now. Or if there are, I could just tighten it up a bit more, but to me it looks like the ripples are gone, and they seem to have gone on the back too. So tightening up the front, also tightened up the last little bit on the back, and I'll give that one more going over just to make sure it's all just right. So what did we start with? We started off with a 25-foot roll of 60-inch wide shrink wrap, and it's a sleeve. It's got a fold in it, so the 30 inches is 60 something inches, and that allows you to slide in a piece of artwork and then seal it with a machine. If you don't have a machine, you just tape it on the back of the work. You fold it onto the back of the work and you tape it on the back. Cut it to size and tape it on the back, and then just do the front with the hairdryer, and it'll work just as well. The machine is nice, but you don't actually have to have a machine. What else should I tell you? Well, you need an X-Acto knife, a ruler to get yourself cut edge. You need this thing heated up to cut it, or you need to tape to the back of the work. You need the work in place securely in the first place so that nothing moves, and a hairdryer to finish it off. And there we go. All ready. It's going to go off to France, this piece, along with a couple of others. So it's all ready to go, and so am I. It's all done, and now so are you. Sorry to keep you waiting with all the shrinking, but there you know how to do it now. See ya. Bye now.